10 seconds.
Good evening, everyone. I will call the December the 21st, 2009 Board of Commissioners regular meeting to order. At this time, I'd ask everybody to stand for the presentation of colors by Pack 38 of the Cub Scouts Poplar Tent Presbyterian Church.
Color guard, advance! Prepare to post colors. Post the colors. Scout salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color guard, return to post.
At this time, I call on Mr. Bernie Lewis as the invocation.
Good evening. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day, and we just thank you for the opportunity just to enjoy life and enjoy the creation that you have provided us, because you are the true, the living, the Most High God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And your name is truly to be hallowed. And tonight we just come and pray for this assembly. We pray for these people that have been elected. Human government was ordained by you, and you've ordered in your word that we're to pray for them so we will live peaceably and godly lives. We just ask now that you give them wisdom and discernment. Let them be no respecter of person. Let them dispatch the business of this county and of this government in the best interest of all those that are here, Father, and just give them the wisdom and discernment that they need, and let all things that are done from this bench tonight honor and glorify you. For it's in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior, whose birth we're about to celebrate. It's in his name that we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Now, if the young men from Pack 38 would like to come up and introduce themselves, and when after you introduce yourself, if you'll go to your left, my right, Commissioner Poole is over there to give you a pen. Step on up.
My name is Jacob Lafferty, from Pack 38, Den 3 Pack 38, and I'm a Bobcat.
My name's Drew from Pack 38.
Where do you go to school, young man?
Cox Mill.
Well, thank you, sir.
My name is Duncan McNeil. I go to school at Cox Mill Elementary School. My name is Christopher Lopez. I go to Cox Mill Elementary School. My name is Alex Hable. I go to Cox Mill Elementary School.
My name is Cole Fuller, and I go to Cox Mill Elementary.
My name is Nolan Landry. I go to Cox Mill Elementary.
My name is Garrett Leffel. I go to Cox Mill Elementary.
My name is Wyatt Billingsley. I go to Cox Mill Elementary. My name is Evan, and I go to Oldell Elementary. My name is Dylan. I go to Carl Leifer Elementary. My name is Gage. I go to Cox Mill Elementary.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. It was very special for y'all to spend time with us and post the colors. Thank you. We have the minutes from November the 2nd, 2009, and November the 16th of 2009. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next we have is our organizational meeting tonight, and it's the election of a chairman and a vice chairman. And at this time, I will turn the gavel over to Mr. Day, who will open the floor for nominations for chairman.
Thank you. Couldn't find it, sorry. I'll receive nominations for the office of chairman.
I make a motion Jay White be reelected as chairman of this board.
I move that we close nominations.
Okay, there.
We'll have a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Wait. We have a motion and a second. Is there any comment, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And you're reelected unanimously, and I'm happy to give it back to you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we nominate Liz Poole to be the vice chair of this board.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second that.
We have a motion. We have a second for Mrs. Liz Poole to be vice chairman for the Board of Commissioners. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Commissioner Poole, Vice Chair Poole, would you like to make any comments at this time?
I'm all right. Kind of my rule. I'm glad I have my voice back. Last month I didn't say anything because I didn't have a voice and I didn't want to squeak too much. But for the most part, unless there's something going wrong, or shouldn't say going wrong, going in a direction that I'm not happy with, then I don't tend to say too much. So.
Commissioner Poole, do you want to move now?
No, ma'am. You're comfortable. I'm comfortable.
all
We're
right.
good.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure to, once again, serve. It's my pleasure to serve as chairman of this board, and I have been honored for 2 years, and I look forward to a third year. I could not have done last year without Commissioner Minot's leadership and help. She's been a tremendous asset, and I look forward to working with Commissioner Poole as vice chair for this coming year. But thank you very much. Now, getting on to our other business is we have a motion to approve the agenda, which would include the changes to the agenda. And I would note that the changes to the agenda is G1, the incentive grant request for SBM Solar is being asked to be pulled. And also, that is G1. And also G5, the request for revision of the consent agreement for Rocky River subdivision is being pulled. And we have supplemental information I would ask to everybody to turn their attention to under G6. But with those modifications, is there any other modifications or amendments that need to be done to the agenda?
Move for approval of the agenda as with the changes noted.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries. We have nothing listed as recognitions and presentations, but I would like to thank Chairman Carl Ford from the Rowan County Board of Commissioners to come down and sit in our meeting. It's a pleasure to have you here, as well as the new chairman of the Board of Education for Cabarrus County is Mr. Wayne Williams. Thank you for coming.
Mr. Chairman, one thing, and I guess maybe under recognition, a point of order, just to point out that earlier today we recognized, well over 100 county employees for their longevity, anywhere from 5 years to 35 years working for the county. It was a great ceremony for those folks, and again, congratulate them from this bench tonight.
It was announced that there was 157, and all told, with just the people that are being recognized today, would have added up to a total of 1,700 years of service. We had one employee or one coworker that had served for 35 years. We had 7 at 30 years. We had 4 at 25 years and 18 at 20 years. So it makes me very proud. I know everybody up here is very proud of the dedication that they have had, but thank you for reminding us. Next, we have no informal public comments that I know of, Mrs. Honeycutt. No old business under the consent agreement. Do we have or consent agenda? Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries. Under new business, 1 was taken off. G2, page 245. is a proposed text amendment. Mr. Marshall.
This text amendment 2009-012 is an amendment to Chapter 8, which is our conditional uses. Those are uses specifically that go before the Board of Adjustment for approval. They're typically a set of conditions that apply to them, and the Board of Adjustment can, based on testimony or information provided to them, add conditions to the approval of those uses. In this case, we require a setback for slaughterhouse meatpacking facilities. Currently, we require a 250-foot setback from any property line for any buildings that comprise that slaughterhouse meatpacking. We're proposing that be reduced to 150 feet, which is consistent with how we regulate some other somewhat similar uses where we have other animal housing. It's only 150 feet from those property lines, and 250 feet in many cases, even in rural areas, can be prohibitive. So we are recommending that you reduce that from 250 to 150 feet with this text amendment, and it does require a public hearing.
Are there any questions for Mr. Marshall at this time? I will open this matter up for a public hearing. Anybody would like to speak for or against the proposed text amendment to Chapter 8 conditional uses as it relates to the zoning ordinance for conditional use standards for slaughterhouse meat packing? Seeing none, I will close this public hearing. Is there any other discussion? Do we have a motion to approve ordinance text 2009-00012, amending the Cabarrus County zoning ordinance as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries. Under G3 is a reservation of capacity for the villas at Logan Gardens. Mr. Marshall.
We'll note there's a representative of the villas at Logan Gardens here this evening, should you have any questions specifically about the project. But this is a project which is a senior independent living facility, and therefore because it may not have or will probably not have any children who are school age in the facility, would fall as an exception to your ordinance. And I believe your attorney, Mr. Cook, has reached some agreement on the conditions to ensure that. So we would recommend that you approve a reservation of capacity for the villas at Logan Gardens.
Mr. Cook, you just refresh everybody's what we're doing with this, so it's a little bit different than what we typically see.
That's correct, although it is similar to an approval you've given in the past for an age-restricted project. We've actually had, I think, 2 others in the county prior to this one. And what we've done in those 2 prior instances is to impose a set of conditions that are as follows. One is that they record some restrictions that makes it clear that legally the property is age restricted to persons over the age of 55. In addition to that, that in the event that the county were to learn that there is a school-age child living in that project for whatever reason, that the developer would, or their assignee at that point, would pay the then in effect voluntary mitigation payment under our adequate public facilities ordinance. And then finally, that the county has the right and the ability to inspect the property or inspect the records or ask the developer to provide records so that we could monitor whether that in fact is the case. So those are the conditions that have been imposed on the other 2 projects that you previously approved. I've talked with the representatives of this developer, and they are in agreement to those conditions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Marshall or Mr. Cook? The motion would be to either approve or if we approve it, it would be approval with a consent agreement, but without application of the APFO.
That's correct, and subject to those conditions.
Okay.
I have a question, a clarification. If we go with this and this particular unit does not come under the APFO, then do they have to follow the build-out schedule, phasing schedule that is listed here for that APFO? It would not seem to be necessary.
No, they would not.
Okay.
We have a motion to approve the consent agreement with the, as set out by Mr. Cook.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion, we have a second. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries. Next is a consent agreement for the West Oaks subdivision project.
This is a consent agreement rather than a reservation of capacity. This is actually, that's based on the original date of the preliminary plat approval by the city of Kannapolis, puts it under your pre-August 2007 ordinance. And it's been some time delay, but because it was approved prior to that, then it does fall under that ordinance, and this is coming before you as a consent agreement. It also puts it at the voluntary mitigation payment of amount of $4,034. There's a representative of the West Oaks subdivision here this evening, but it is a 13-lot, single-family subdivision in the city of Kannapolis, located off of Davidson Highway. As you can see that from the memo and the memo that's included, it details the number of students we would expect and the effect on the schools, which would be overcrowded. Therefore, it does require that they have a consent agreement with that voluntary mitigation amount.
Are there any questions for Mr. Marshall at this time?
And basically, the addition to the Boger Elementary School, as well as the Harold Winkler can't say that real fast, Harold Winkler Middle School, those two help bring down the capacity, will actually bring down the capacities shown now there for Boger. I can't talk tonight.
They will both affect this attendance.
It will affect me,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
In other words, the 140%, 136% does not include the capacities that, added capacities for those two news.
That's right.
Okay, got it, okay. Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion to approve the consent agreement between the county and Brandon Little and Stephen Wasserman for the West Oaks subdivision project, including the payment of $4,034, and authorize the county manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the county. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Commissioner Privet.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I noticed in the information we have from the Cabarrus County School Board that the Boger School currently, with this, we approve this, it'd be at 140% capacity, which normal capacity is 110%, and Northwest Middle would be 136% if we approve that. So I think we ought to take that in consideration of this request.
Thank you, Commissioner Privet. Any other discussion? We have a motion in a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Next matter that we have is G5 has been taken off. G6 is a consideration of whether I'm sorry, that's on page 269, is consideration of whether to remain a member of the Central Carolina Council of Governments. This is something we discussed at our work session, and there needs to be, if we are going to vote to step away from the Council of Governments, there needs to be a 6-month notice. It is automatically renewed July 1 of every year, so we'd have to give 6-month notice by the end of this year. So we're outside the 6 months is what we need. It is my opinion that they may have, the COG may be a beneficial organization, but I'm not satisfied that it is keeping everybody that is at the table voice in the forefront, number one. Number two is Commissioner Poole was very accurate and appropriate in talking about a blue ribbon committee. It concerns me that that's been discussed since at least May of this year, and we're no farther along. I was hoping it was going to get done, or at least get started between then and now. And now we're looking at it next year. It is my opinion that if we do step aside and do not participate in the COG anymore, then we will, if something changes and we change our mind, we can always step back in before next year or during next year. I just don't think that we're getting the money, the services that we're paying for. We're paying roughly 38, I think we're paying $38,000, and we're receiving services of approximately $24,000. And in this day and age, we are doing everything we can to make certain we're meeting within our budget. I think that the COG may have have some beneficial aspects to it, but I don't see it at this point in time as it relates to Cabarrus County. Commissioner Minor.
Mr. Chairman, I was at the Department of Aging board meeting today, and they were referring to and alluding to the fact that because COG is the agency that handles funds for, some of the funds for Department of Aging, they were concerned that they might go away when they read about this, and they were assured that that was not so, that we could still purchase those services directly from COG without being a member. That was about $16,000. What are the other items that we pay for, the difference between 16 and the 20-some that you mentioned? Are those other items all similar to that, and can we continue to purchase all of those, or will we lose out on some opportunities?
When we were in our budget meetings this year, that was brought up, and as best I recall, the value of the services that COG provides can be paid for on an hourly basis or on a group basis, and that comes up to the $23,000. And that's when we started questioning, well, what are we getting for the other $15,000 or $16,000 or $17,000? And we never got an answer back from COG that was satisfactory to why we're paying another $16,000. So, as I understand it, and as it was presented to us, is that if we no longer are a member of COG, we can still contract for their services for the grants that we are having, and we will not see any difference in service, and we will actually be paying about $23,000 instead of $39,000. So it does cover that with the Department of Aging and the home. There's several grants that we get. So yes, we'll be covered.
Mr. Chairman, to me, when this was discussed, the question I had, of what benefit is that to our staff? And none of our staff members indicated where COG was any beneficial value to their service. And so why pay for something that's not being of benefit to the county?
Thing, and this just administratively, I just realized thought about it earlier and it slipped my mind, but and I guess I need to ask council this. I've got COG does get their property and casualty insurance through the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Risk Management Pools, which I'm an employee of, so I need to disclose that to the board. I'm not sure if that causes me to need to recuse myself because of that.
I don't believe so.
Okay. I just wanted to disclose it though, so.
One thing that you did bring up, Commissioner Privet, is that there are things that COG does and provides in regards to education or continued education, but it's my opinion that it doesn't rise to the $13,000 difference. Commissioner Poole, you're the liaison, and I know that it's tough, but.
No, that's okay. I do think staff can still go to COG, and you may have to pay a fee, but I think you can still get some continuing education, even with this out of it. I mean, that's the one plus of this situation is that there are services that we can still pay for. So it's not like we're saving all of that money as far as the county goes. There still will be, a budget in there, because there's some matching funds, like you said, for grants that we definitely want to have available in Cabarrus County, and we want to make sure that we get our share of, and they do a lot of that. I'm very hopeful that next month, January or February, that this Blue Ribbon Committee will actually exist, and they'll start looking at things. I don't know why it's taken so long for them to get to that point. I'm sure that there are just a number of issues going on. I don't know why it was delayed. I think it's important for us to be in on committees that are set up regionally, because whatever goes on, whether we like it or not, what goes on in Mecklenburg County and in Charlotte does impact us in Cabarrus County, and that is one, not the only one, but it's one of the forums that we have to try to interact. The good thing is that our membership goes through the end of June, so I will continue to go monthly. I don't think the only meeting I've missed in the last year was one that they had. I think we had something that conflicted with it. for some reason, but, other than that, you know, I will continue to go the next 6 months. And, any information I get, you know, presuming that the resolution to withdraw is what's gonna be approved tonight, try to share that with everybody. And, of course, I would ask that, you know, in June, can we, if it goes as I think it's gonna go tonight, can we plan on putting it on the agenda, or at least have the option to do that, to look and see if anything else has transpired over the next 6 months, to see if we do want to stay members. A number of small municipalities have sent notices to us. I know I've gotten those. I think everybody has probably gotten those in the mail, because that's what required. We'll have to send a notice to all the municipalities and counties that are in the region. And, you know, COGs are set up by the state, and there's a different COG that represents all the different areas of the county. So I do think that, other than just being a pass-through for funds, I do think that there's some benefit from being there. Again, I will continue to go, and, you know, we'll hopefully can discuss it again in June and see if anything changes. But it's hard for me to argue the point, if you will. I mean, I understand the argument completely, and I can't really counteract every one of the arguments, since staff can still get there and we can still make sure we get the funds.
Well,
Matt?
Commissioner Minot?
My only concern, I agree with everything that's been said on both sides of this issue. My only concern about indicating that we're withdrawing now, even though we will be on there for the next almost 6 months, will that mean that we would, if this Blue Ribbon Council is formed, we would not have a seat at that table? So if you're not in the group that's trying to make the improvements, then the improvements that we feel need to be made, we wouldn't have a voice. So that would be my concern there.
You know, I certainly can't, I have no idea how COG's going to do it, and I don't think Commissioner Poole knows, but I would certainly think that if there's this many disgruntled members of COG, that to be short-sighted and not have a seat at the table would continue with the theory of they're not wanting to listen to everybody. I would think that they would take this to heart and try and do everything they can to welcome everybody in and see how can everybody be heard. And as we well know, the five of us, is that we don't have to agree with each other to get along. And we should be respectful enough to listen to each other. And that's what I think is important. And I do agree with Commissioner Poole, is there's a lot of regional efforts that we need to address, whether it's air, whether it's pollution, whether it's transportation. And I don't see right now where they're helping lead that effort. They're a conduit, but they're not helping lead that effort. And I think that's a shame that they're promoting regionalism but not doing anything about it.
Well, Mr. Chairman, one of the things, if I could add a couple of things, just, that I mean, have had some contact with some other COGs, and I know that, you know, there's that dual role, and we hit on it tonight. One of them is that for the COGs in the rural parts of the state, where you have a lot of small counties, they can take over and do regional services for several counties and several municipalities that it's just not cost effective for any single one to do themselves. And I think that's what we see them doing. We can still pay for that stuff. See, I think that right behind this, in addition to the Blue Ribbon Committee they're talking about putting together, would be what do we want to, what are the issues that we want to talk about on a regional basis? I mean, we've got, because I've been involved since I've been on this board, there's been there was a group called Voices and Choices that was active for a couple of years that was really big on conservation and land use management. There was a group that was formed, you remember, I think about the time we transitioned from myself to you when you were in the chair's position, was the group that was formed by the Charlotte Regional Partnership that was trying to get all 16 counties moving together. And then we've got the COG. There, I think right now, really the only regional effort going on is the Carolina Thread Trail organization. Is about the closest we've got right now to kind of some kind of regional effort. But the question comes down to it, from the COG standpoint, because we're so big, I mean, there's a lot of different micro areas in the Charlotte region. Do we need something as big as COG with 16 counties in it to, you know, can something that big effectively do any type of address regional issues, or do we need something small where it's us and Rowan and Stanley together in a group to address just the issues on this side of Charlotte and the Charlotte area?
I hate to say it, but a bureaucracy that is created in Raleigh
Yeah.
is hard to kill.
I know.
Well, and
I'm
I
learning that more and
will,
more every day.
I will volunteer, at the January meeting, presuming they're gonna do the blue ribbon and to see if, if I can get appointed to it with the understanding, of course, that, something's gotta happen fairly quickly. I think they've gotten bogged down in a couple issues and just have not been able to, get moving on some things that they should have by now. And, I have only the knowledge of the last year, but I think their idea at COG at least is to do more things and to be more regional. But so many of these grants, you have to have some organization to be the conduit. And I think that's probably how it was set up primarily, for them to be the conduit. And then the employees there started thinking, we need to do more than that. And so they're trying to figure out where their place is too. And that's what this Blue Ribbon Committee is gonna do. I think they finally realized that they've got to do more than, maybe give some lip service to some issues. They've really got to be able to produce something, or they don't really have, a good reason to exist, especially the way they are now. So, I'll volunteer, to them. I'll send them an email and, see how that's gonna go. The chairman is, Mayor Meishammer from Kannapolis, and so I'll let him know also and see how they're gonna progress. And like I said, all I can do is, give information to the board members, and we'll see where we go from it.
Well, if you'll let us know,
I don't mind doing that.
Mr. Chairman, and then in light of the discussions taking place and according to their bylaws and invoking their bylaws and General Statute 168-474, move that we invoke the termination of membership clause, give them 6 months' notice that we'll be withdrawing.
would you include the resolution?
Include the
as found on-
resolution that's presented, yeah.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Excuse me. 5-1. I'm making enough. I'm hearing voices. Okay. Now that takes us to appointments under, first is the Department of Aging and Advisory Board. We have a motion to reappoint Robin G. Swearingen Jr., Frank Whitley, and Ted Drain to the Department of Aging Advisory Board for 3-year terms ending December 31st, 2012, including an exception to the appointment policy for Mr. Drain.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. And we also have a motion to appoint Thomas Crizel and Chair Solomon to the Department of Aging Advisory Board for 3-year terms ending December 31st, 2012, and acknowledge the service of Nancy Yates for 2 years and Aileen Reeves for 6 years on this board.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. As it relates to the Library Board of Trustees, do we have a motion or acknowledge Reverend Bigelow's service to the community? And do we have a motion to appoint Mrs. Martha Dobson to the Library Board of Trustees to complete an unexpired term ending July 31st, 2012 to fill the Mount Pleasant area position?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. On H3, appointment or removal from the Nurse Home Community Advisory Committee, do we have a motion to appoint Desiree Lackey and Mr. Mitchell Hagler to a Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee for a 1-year term ending December 31st, 2010?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Do we have a motion to reappoint Mrs. Peggy Yost to the Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee for a 3-year term ending January 31st, 2013, and a motion to remove Mrs. Geraldine Maxwell from the Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee roster and acknowledge her service to the community?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. The next is appointments and boards for the Board of Commissioners. I'd ask that you look at that. We don't need to have a vote tonight, but if you'll look at that so we can discuss liaisons for the upcoming year. I would like to have some discussion at a work session and a vote in the January session, so if you'll please take a look at that. And Mrs. Honeycutt, if you don't mind emailing maybe everything out so that we can see it on a spreadsheet. The next is, well, before we get there, I am missing one. Transportation Advisory
Yeah,
Board.
that was part of the commissioner's appointments. We can wait till do that next month.
No, let's do that tonight. Well, that needs to be done tonight, because isn't that meeting, that's meeting soon.
Okay. Mr. Chair, as I've already, I think I'm
I
saying.
believe Commissioner Caruth would like to serve on the Transportation Advisory Board. Do we have a motion to appoint Commissioner Caruth as a liaison? We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
You talking about a train there or something?
Motion carries. I would ask, I was contacted, in fact, I was contacted recently by a gentleman that is wanting to serve on one of the boards, and he was gracious enough to contact Mrs. Honeycutt, and I commend him on that. I would call on anybody in Cabarrus County that's interested to serve in the possible different county boards or committees. We do have it on our website at cabarruscounty.us /commissioners /boards and committees, or you can just go to our website and search boards and committees. That we have some very good boards that certainly need everyone's help. It's not as intense in many of the boards or committees as you would think. I would encourage you to look, and if you're interested, either contact myself or Mrs. Honeycutt. It's very important and will be a great opportunity for you to serve. At this time, I think that covers all of our agenda tonight. Am I missing anything, Mrs. Honeycutt? Do we have any comments from board members? I'd like to make just a few comments. The Board of Education, Cabarrus County Board of Education, as well as Kannapolis, I think, recommended or had something to do with the conferences, athletic conferences being within the county. And I marvel at that was a very, very good decision. I have two family members, one that participates in two different events, two different sports, and it's been a tremendous, it's been a great to be able to see friends that we're competing against, and the kids, it's great to see kids who they're interacting with, battling in whatever event, and then afterwards shaking hands and going on. So I commend, I hope that can stay together for many years to come, but that's been a great, great asset to the county.
Plus that drives. Much better now.
Sir?
Plus the drive to those events.
Oh,
Much easier.
well, it's saving money gas-wise, but it was tremendous. And,
If we hurry up tonight, I can still make a basketball game.
well, I just,
There's a wrestling match going on tonight, Central
Hey,
Cabarrus,
wrestling
too.
match too. You can make wrestling, I can go to basketball.
but it has been, it's been very good. I hope that it's been positive for the school systems, but I think it's been very good.
And I would like,
Yes,
I just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah, I did that, yeah.
It's a great time of year. It's the only time I really pull out red to wear. And it's, I've got one more day of work and then a good vacation that I think all my cohorts will agree that we need. And so just wanted to take a moment to say Merry Christmas to everybody on the commission and everybody that's joining us tonight. We're glad y'all came out. And everybody that watches this, I'm amazed how many people watch this on TV.
yeah.
So,
It is, it's a great time of year. It's Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I think Hanukkah just got finished. It's a great time of year of celebration and reflection on the past year and what we can move forward in the next year and the great things that we can do. Any other comments? With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. I will see everybody next year.